Oh, I just did my taxes today. I'm really depressed. Between us, I got them down by $2,000 for the pension splitting from $18,000 to $16,000. That's what I'm it was really depressing because what happened is, you know, and we get money out of the bill is I just did our taxes and required.
You're going to be paying
forcefully about because we don't pay taxes. I mean, I'm actually going to no, they are taxes.
All right, it's 7 o'clock. Is everyone ready to begin?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I'm going to call this meeting of Saanich Council to order on Monday, April 11th. It's been a while since we've had a meeting in this chamber. It's nice to see everyone here tonight. Looks like we have a fairly short agenda, so I don't know how quickly we'll take to get through it. But it's nice to be back, although it's also quite nice to have a break. We've been here many nights, late many times, and you know, it's a taxing job. You know, I can speak for myself, but you know, when you sign up to be an elected official, you have to put a lot of evenings, you have to put a lot of weekends, and it's great to meet people. It's great to go out in the community, but you need a break. and you know, it's important to have a good balance of life so that we can be on our toes all the time and be making good decisions here on your behalf with your input. So, anyways, welcome back, everybody. So, with that, we'll go on the agenda. So, we'll first start with item A, the adoption of minutes. Madam Clerk, please run us through that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The adoption of minutes is for the Council and Committee of the Whole meetings of March 14th, the Special Committee of the Whole of March 15th, and the Special Council of March 16th.
Move their adoption.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. I'll call a question on that. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, item B, bylaws for final reading.
This item is for final reading of zoning amendment bylaw 9373 and for the approval of an exemption from the minimum 10% perimeter road frontage. This is with regard to the property at 728 Miller Avenue, rezoning to RS6 and RS10 for proposed subdivision to create one additional lot for single-family residential use.
Thank you. Just a clarification, Madam Clerk, we're looking at two motions on this. One for final reading and one for the exemption.
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Someone like to move the first?
Move final reading. Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed? That carries unanimously. And the second motion, please, for the exemption.
So move the exemption. Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item C on the agenda, which is public input on items D and E. If you'd like to speak to the Capital Regional District Climate Action and Adaptation Service, 832 Vernon Avenue, 700 Walker Bay Road, 1649 Alderwood Street, or the Bank BC grant application. We also have the recommendations from committees. Committee of the Board, removal of 574 Walter Avenue, and the second item is Healthy Saanich Advisory Committee recommendations from the LGBTQ subcommittee. If you'd like to speak to those items, please come up to the microphone, give your name and address, and you can limit your comments to 5 minutes. It would be most appreciated.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is John Schmuck. I live at 1180 Rock Street. I am past president of the Quadrocito Community Association. I sit on the Douglas Uptown Corridor Study for the association, and I speak for the association tonight. Quadrocito Community Association is supportive of the transfer of 834 Vernon plot of land to BC Housing. We are supportive of the Niagara Valley project, but this is a rare opportunity. We have a blank canvas, so it's not very often we have such a wide swath of land to really plan it and redevelop it in a way that's going to be good for the next generation and the generation after that. We had 4 major things that we proposed for amenities. So by the fact we're transferring public land, we would like to have amenities back for our community. It's not just for Quadrille, we're talking about the community as a whole. This is really part of Saanich core now. This is going to be a very, very major development. So 4 things that we suggest. We suggested a gathering place directly opposite the entrance to the Municipal Hall parking lot on the other side of the Galloping Goose Trail. I do believe this is going to be included in the plan. It was received by the, and again, all of these suggestions that we have shared with BC Housing, and we did share them at the beginning of the process. Suggestion, the cenotaph is right in front of the Municipal Hall right now. I'm sure all of you have been to the November 11th ceremonies there. We've been getting 500, 600, 700 people there on November 11th. We're all crammed on the lawn, crammed on the sidewalk. Traffic sitting behind our butts at 70 kilometers an hour, should be going 50. Why not take the opportunity to move the cenotaph? Move it over to a quiet place, make it a larger area, make it accessible for walking to there, get us away from that traffic, and a place where we can really honor the veterans. That was one suggestion. And also this public square could be a nice, quiet gathering place right in the Galloping Goose Sales trail. It'd be available for the residents of the new Niagara Valley area, employees of the area. It'd be available for Saanich employees to have lunch at, all that sort of thing. Maybe just benches, picnic tables, maybe, but not necessarily. Another idea. Our public library, the Emily Carr branch, was moved from Saanich owned land onto privately held land in Uptown. Why not take this opportunity to move it back onto public land? Have it accessible off Vernon Avenue or whatever is to be a suitable place. Just an idea. I know there are a lot of people that didn't really like it when the former branch was closed down. A third idea, a senior center. We're in the middle of the Grey Tsunami. There's a lot of people who look for company. They look for a gathering place, look for a place to meet people and just be able to socialize. So we have some senior centers, we need more. A fourth recommendation. We've utilized, and Saanich has utilized, the auditorium at Garth Homer. So we know what the capacity is. You can seat about 260 people there. Cram in standing room only, you get about 300. And then if you have a major meeting like the EDPA or the tennis courts, whatever, you have to turn away 150 people and you just get them all set. And eventually we wind up at Perks Arena with no heat and shiver away till 12:39 a.m. in the morning. Include in this proposal probably a 500-seat auditorium. You know, we've used the Garth Homer Center twice for all candidates debates. Once for the last municipal election, once for the 2013 provincial election. It's a great facility. They are a very good host for us. We're always very appreciative when they give it to us. And I think it'd be a great chance for Saanich to get a good meeting place. We have no space in this hall. I'll grant you that we fit everybody at the 2 EDPA meetings and Perks, but I think you could all agree that it's not the best venue. There's no elevated stage. A lot of people couldn't see you guys because there's no sight line, no elevated sight line for you. It'd just be a good opportunity. And there's, fifthly, there's plenty of other ideas that are coming up. We do appreciate the fact that BC Housing folks have been very generous with their time in listening to us and engaging us. But I do think if Saanich is going to transfer the land, we should have an expectation that there will be amenities for the public coming with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Before you go, I was at the volunteer event for the Saanich Police the other night. And
For Block Watch.
Pardon?
Block Watch.
For Block Watch, yeah. Someone came up to me and spoke much the same way you did about the constrained area, the land that we have at the front of the hall for Remembrance Day. The first time I attended, I was standing in the flower beds myself, and it's like packed, you know, it's like 3 or 4.
And you feel guilty standing probably where they've just planted the tulips, you know, and that's where we all are.
Yeah. So I'm going to start a conversation on planning for future events. So your comments are well taken. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Karen Harper, 3430 Bon Air. I'm here to speak to you once again about, I usually don't do this with microphones, item D1, which is the CRD bylaw number 4058. And when I spoke to you last time, my concerns were several-fold. One was that they are looking at an up to 50% lift in the overall amount that they can collect for this program, which is a significant increase. And as you are aware, taxes, whether they're small amounts or little amounts, all that together to give us to a number that is much exceeding the cost of living, which is not satisfactory to many of us. And of course, it was also going to increase the basic mill rate attached to that by 8.33%. And so when I came to speak to you last time, I spoke about the fact that I'm in favor of dealing with climate change. That's not the issue here, but what concerned me in terms of what was in front of us then, and what still concerns me about what is in front of us tonight, is there's no business case here. It doesn't explain clearly, other than to say they will have some money for staffing, what the business case is for doing this. What are the programs that they are going to do? What is going to change in the way they deliver the programs? Why is it needed? And quite frankly, to increase staff without explaining how you're going to be running a program is not a business case. And increasing a requisition for FTEs without a business case isn't a business case. Sorry to be repetitive, but at the end of the day, a business case clearly states what are you going to do that would require this staff. And it's just not there. So what I'm here tonight to ask of you, and as I had pointed out last time, if you were to reject this motion, it doesn't keep it from happening. It just means that you will have taken a stand, because it only requires 2/3 of the municipalities to vote in favor for this change to go through in any event. But what I am asking of you tonight, as our councillors and as representatives of the taxpayers of this municipality, is to vote against this motion and hopefully start a discussion at the CRD about what kind of information they should be providing both to you and to the general public when they want to ask for something from us, because it's our money. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak? Please come forward. Calling for a second time. Any other members of the public that wish to speak? Calling for a third time? Okay, we'll close the public input period and thank all of the speakers that came forward. And let's move on to item 2, resolutions for adoption. Madam Clerk, would you please introduce the first item for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This first item is the CRD bylaw, number, let's see here, it's the 4058 for the Climate Action and Adaptation Service Establishment bylaw amendment. This item was postponed from the March 14th council meeting. The request of the CRD is that council approve the review of the amended bylaw and to give consent to the adoption of the bylaw in accordance with the Local Government Act. The CRD has prepared an attachment which is circulated with the agenda that outlines some of the questions or in response to some of the questions that council had asked at the last meeting, and members of the CRD are available if there are questions from council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Dermott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe Dr. Harris is here with the CRD. I wondered if you could elaborate for us on what the rationale is for the request.
Hi, good evening. Yes, so the Climate Action Service sits under my division at the CRD. The request comes forward since 2009 when the bylaw was introduced. We've had increases through inflation with that, and we're just at a point now where we've exceeded the allowable requisition, and so that was the purpose, the administrative purpose for coming forward. The service provides 3 functions, and we went through that process with the presentation of our service plans and our budgets and our work plans at the regional board and through standing committees. We have 3 functions. One is the supporting the corporate commitments around the Climate Action Charter and being carbon neutral. So there's a reporting, collection of data, monitoring, and offsetting our greenhouse gas emissions, as well as supporting the various services around adaptation and mitigation around greenhouse gases. We also have a function supporting the municipalities in the electoral areas and climate action. We're fortunate to have some very strong advocates and voices and leaders from this council that support not only the standing committee but also the intermunicipal steering committee, which is made up of elected officials across the region, as well as the working group, intermunicipal working group. And so we work on projects that are a benefit of the region, and we provide hopefully support and information to the municipalities and electoral areas, as well as working on projects. Say specifically, I can give you an example of the Sea Level Rise project, looking at some of the adaptation stuff and the adaptation toolkit that we came out of last year. Large funding from Natural Resource Canada, as well as some seed money from the District of Saanich, as well as the City of Victoria and Tides Canada Foundation. So those kind of projects, and then also a lot of work around outreach to the public, whether it's the Tap by Tap program that looks to retrofit the residential buildings, as well as multiple use residential buildings, the burbs, reducing water consumption, but also reducing energy consumption. We've worked on other projects, the oil to heat pump conversion. We had a strong advocate from the Saanich Council interested in that. That takes care of a bunch of issues around underground storage tanks, oil tanks, but also converting to renewable resources in that. We worked on solar Colwood's expansion to solar COD, looking for changing over on solar hot water tank systems. So those are the kind of things we're doing. We're doing a lot of outreach to the public. The Climate Action To Go kits were hugely successful through the library system. We expanded on that, and we're looking through the Resilient Breakfast Series, which brings together sustainability leaders from the community to have monthly sessions on conversations around sustainability and climate action. So we're just at a point now with the service. It's a fairly small service. It's 1.5 FTEs, or has been since the service came into being in 2009. And we're just at a point now where we're just asking for an amendment to the bylaw to allow us requisition to carry on the program, and we leverage that service into, since 2010, about $850,000 on top of what the service provides. So there's a lot of leverage at work that goes on. We look for grants and try and share that across the region with the elected areas and municipalities.
Thank you. I think we have some questions, Councilor Gerber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of quick follow-up questions. So fundamentally, what you're saying to us, I believe, is that the service has reached the limits of what it can do within the existing parameters of the requisition.
Yes, and now in terms of just administrative, what we're allowed to requisition, we've just grown beyond what the cap was put on in place back in 2009.
Thank you. And this is, of course, a new cap. It would not mean that you would immediately go out and borrow this level of money. It would simply provide for future growth if that were to take place. What is the expectation that will be done in, say, the next year in terms of if this expanded cap was allowed?
Do you mean in terms of the work plan, or?
Yeah, and what things would be eliminated if it wasn't allowed?
So most of the budget goes to support the 1.5 FTEs, and we have a little bit of seed money that we use to leverage grants and fundings that come available and opportunities. So we have to put some service or some funding in kind to support that. So there's a small bit of seed money that allows us to go out and partner with Natural Resources Canada, or to develop projects, for example, with the PKIC and their downscaling of the regional climate impact, so we can look at sea level rise or adaptation issues relevant to our regional services, and by extension to the services provided by the municipalities and electoral areas. I'm just trying to think about, if your question is what we could cut,
Not really what you could cut, but what would happen if this particular request was not granted?
So the challenge is trying to meet our commitments. So we have corporate commitments around climate action, the Climate Action Charter, and meeting those requirements. We've also got a commitment to support the municipalities around various services that they're providing, and the regional government, whether it's regional parks or the drinking water system, and some of the other large services that we provide, and make sure we meet those commitments. And then a lot of outreach to the community and raising awareness through public programs.
Thank you.
Councilor Urban? And then Councilor Haynes.
Thank you very much, Chair. You mentioned the word 2-3 times to meet our commitments. Who made the commitments? And the question I would ask, will those commitments just continue to rise as money is put in?
So the commitments, the corporate commitments around the Climate Action Charter that was signed by 175 municipalities across BC to commit to be carbon neutral. So there was a commitment to not only develop complete compact communities as part of that goal planning exercise, but also to monitor our greenhouse gas emissions, to reduce them to the extent possible, to report out on them, and then to offset those credits. And so we developed programs, we developed internal programs to try and offset the greenhouse gas emissions, so we don't have to purchase offsets. So those are the kind of commitments I was talking about from the corporate level. And then the service itself has a mandate to do support to all the municipalities and electoral areas, as well as do public outreach and education.
One other question. As a municipality, we put a lot of energy and a lot of dollars into climate action. And the question I would ask, is there opportunity to do better in working together? I'll talk about Saanich and working better with Saanich than we have been in the past.
No, I think we have a great partnership with Sanchez. Sanchez is seen as one of the strong leaders, if not one of the key leaders in the region in terms of expertise. So you have a phenomenal staff that provides support and energy and experience and coming together and strengthen the region. There's a lot of projects and programs that benefit the entire region.
I knew you were going to say that, but the question I asked, is there an opportunity to do better?
I think there's always opportunity to do better. We're trying to take advantage of opportunities that come forward. For example, the province is coming up with a climate leadership plan. They'll release that in 2016. We'll look for opportunities there and projects and programs and funding that'll come out of that. And we'll work with the Intermunicipal Working Group, which is staff from all the municipalities and electoral areas, to try and find projects that are benefit to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Haynes, and then Councillor Jones next.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity for more information. I look at the data here. We see in 2015 it was, I think I get the right number, $239,766 was the total recreation approved across all the municipalities. And then the proposed 2016 requisition goes up to $290,706, correct?
Yes.
And then you use that to leave us on $850,000 for a cumulative total of something in excess of like 1.1 million. And that covers 1.5 full-time equivalents.
The basic requisition supports 1.5 full-time equivalents.
So coming down to the $300,000, that supports 1.5 full-time equivalents.
We've used that to leverage projects, and so we've either done it internally in hiring short-term contracts or hired consultants to do the work.
Oh, okay, so the 1.5 full-time equivalents act as a little initiation business center that then utilizes those resources to hire consultants to deliver the package of goods.
That's right, yeah, we
And that's the
leverage.
business plan that we're not seeing yet.
That's right. And so that was the intent, and so, yeah, not necessarily thinking in the sense of a business plan, we go through a service plan, and we do annual reports to the Standing Committee, the Environmental Services Committee, and then up to the board about the work that's included on that, and there we explicitly identify the 1.5 FTEs and the small seed money, so about the 233 requisition up to 2015, and then the money that we leverage and bring in and all the other projects we provide.
So presumably for 2015 or 2014, you'd have those sort of numbers of how the leverage was done, the kind of spend on those projects, etc.
That's right.
But we're not seeing that in a plan forward basis.
In a plan for it. So it's a fairly opportunistic program, so depending on, for example, I just mentioned the provincial government's climate leadership plan, we anticipate they'll send some signals about their priorities by providing funding for regional governments, local governments to take advantage of it. And that's where we're positioned to take advantage of that and develop grant applications and present programs out of them. So we also work with our funding partners, so you think that large utilities, FortisBC, BC Hydro, they also have some priorities about energy reduction, and then we build on developing programs depending on that. So.
Yes, when you mention funding partners, you mean outside the municipality, these other institutes like Fortis, etc., they would be part of the groups that are contributing towards the $850,000 that you leave. Is that on an annual basis, that 850, or was that in the entirety of the program?
That's cumulative since 2010.
It's cumulative.
And about 90% comes from outside the municipality. So Saanich and Victoria kicked in a little bit of money on a couple of projects, but the majority, 90% of our money comes from external partners and stakeholders.
So with the, let's imagine it's $240,000. So sorry if I'm taking a bit long here, I want to fully understand.
Go ahead.
The $850,000 is over 5 years since 2010.
That's
so
right.
That could be divided by 10. Sorry, 5.
5 years, that's right.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So then the leverage dollar is less than 1 to 1 on the year.
Correct.
Right. But you don't show any of those numbers here for us to see.
No, we've accumulated it. It said that since 2010, we've leveraged about $850,000 in external resources.
Right. And then these, previous year, is there a document that would show how the dollars were levered and the kinds of programs? Because I'm listening to Councillor Worthland, and I think in part his question was, is there duplication? Because Sandwich already reports out on its greenhouse gas targets, its public education. So my following question would be if we could see that type of information, we could see where there's overlap and duplication, and perhaps make an integrated surface more efficient.
Yeah, my apologies, and if I didn't understand Councillor Word's clear question. The intent was to say, yeah, in terms of doing better, it's more about working together on new projects, whether it's sea level rise or adaptation is a new big pressure that I think government's recognizing. The regional government provides support to all municipalities in terms of their greenhouse gas. Saanich happens to be a strong leader with their own department to do that, so we don't support them on that issue, but it would be a lot of the program and information sharing that we would work together, and projects and programs that would benefit not just the citizens and businesses of Saanich, but across the region.
Yeah, so in the absence of that information, it's a little bit of a leap of faith that it's being done in an integrated and efficient way.
Fair enough, without being explicit.
And yet you have 5 years of information you've not shared.
So, with apologies, so we weren't sure, because this is the first council that's requested sort of presentation and extra work, so we weren't necessarily thinking about submitting a business plan here. We certainly have the annual reports from the service that we can print, as well as the service plans, as well as the work plans that would quantify and explicitly identify all the projects that we're working on within that service.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is Mark Boyce in the audience tonight? No? Okay. Councillor German and Councillor Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to move the recommendation if there's a second or I'll speak to it. Thank you. First of all, of course, as has been pointed out, this does not mean a requisition of the amount of increase in the coming year or even the year after. It simply provides headroom for the particular program to grow, or more correctly, I think, to continue to grow. I would point out that we are lucky enough in Saanich to be large enough to have dedicated staff in terms of climate change. Most of the municipalities, metro areas in the region don't have that luxury. And so the regional function provides them with a lot of the kind of support that we have in-house in Saanich, and as well as doing additional things on a regional basis. There is a need to have somebody who is in place and able to provide that service to other municipalities, but also to be able to take the regional look, a regional perspective of how we're approaching these things. A lot of decisions that are going to impact climate change, at least our attempts at mitigation in the region and ultimately adaptation as well, are going to involve things like transportation choices that will be regional in nature. And there are quite a number involving those. Climate change, unfortunately, is not getting better. The likely impacts and consequences. It is rapidly getting worse. Members of council might have seen about a week and a half ago an article in the Global Mail and the TC that pointed out that the new prediction for sea level rise this century is probably over 2 meters. It used to be only 4 or 5 years ago about 1/3 of a meter. Climate change is happening, unfortunately, faster than people had anticipated. It is likely to happen faster still, because most of the computer models have not made the assumptions about what will happen with feedback loops as the planet warms and they come into play. Things like melting of the permafrost and the tundra, things like release of the methane hydrates that are off all the continental coasts. That it is going to be the defining, or probably is, but even more so will be the defining problem that humanity has faced for a long, long period of time. We are going to need to put resources to address it. Absolutely. And those resources are going to exceed the cost of living. Because the greatest threat to the cost of living, and indeed just living for many, is going to be climate change itself. So I think this service that has performed well to allow it to expand its operations to help us to meet the goals we must accomplish to face this problem, I think are absolutely justifiable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm certainly supportive of this, and I've been fortunate, but I was the 7 years as chair of the Environment Committee and now the alternate to Councillor Murdoch, to have participated in with the climate change committee through the CRD, and they're exceptional people. I mean, they might be only 1 point whatever it is, part of a person, but they're exceptional. They work regionally. They're innovative, and there's no leap of faith with the work that they're doing. You just have to look at page 25, which runs through what we received from Saanich with this, and I certainly think it'd be good for all of us to become involved, and particularly with the regional, their breakfast series. It is amazing how many people in this region, and not just in the region, but on the island, that they're working on climate change and what they share when they get together. So if this is the venue or that takes us through this, I think this is a great advantage to Saanich to have the support and be involved with CRD. And I believe it says it's 32 cents per household. So it's not a huge increase, and I think it's well worth it. And we are exceptional people doing this. So I think we're all down.